Welcome back to Chicago English and Alex Teachers Book Club. All right, like the title says, we are doing Roald Dahl, the Twits, a legend writer. This is such a good book. It's just getting started. So we did chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, introduced some of the characters, one character, Mr. Twit, and talked about the beard. Look at this beard. How you like my beard? Do I got any food in my beard? Nope. My student in my last class, my very astute student, Harry, pointed out that I get salad dressing in my beard. That's true. I'm not going to tell you why, but I do get salad dressing in this beard, and then my beard smells like delicious salad dressing all day. It's kind of gross, but it's delicious. Alrighty, so you're seeing the American flag shirt. You're like, hey, Alex, why is there only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 stars? Shouldn't there be 15? Good question. There should be 50. There are 50 stars now because each star is a state. But when the first flag was made, there was only 13 stars. It was in a circle. 13 stars for the original 13 colonies. A colony was similar to like a state. And that's what we have the stripes for. 13 stripes for the 13 original colonies. Okay? So, good question. I knew you were thinking it. I can tell. Anyways, America right now is going through a tough time. All right, let's get to the book because the book is awesome. No one wants to hear about me talking about politics. Roald Dahl. We're going chapter 4, chapter 5, chapter 6. We're going to introduce the second main character, Mrs. Twit. Mrs. Twit. All right, first, let's vocabulary. 5, 4, 3, 2, study the vocabulary. Alrighty, I hope you studied that vocabulary. Pause it, write it down, whatever you need. And let's go. Here we go with Mrs. Twit. Mrs. Twit. Now, really quick, if you see Miss, that's a female yoja, not married. Mrs. is a married woman. That's their last name. So Mrs. Twit. Mrs. Twit was no better than her husband. Oh boy. She did not, of course, have a hairy face. I hope not. It was a pity she didn't, because that, at any rate, would have hidden some of her fearful ugliness. Take a look. Oh boy. So, they're saying she would be better with a hairy face. Let's look at her. Ah! Ooh, I think she's very pretty. My style. All right, let's read. Ay, ay, ay. Sorry. Okay. I'm using a new stand if you can't tell. Sorry. Oh boy, this is going to take long. Have you ever seen a woman with an uglier face than that? I doubt it. But the funny thing is that Mrs. Twit wasn't born ugly. She'd had quite a nice face when she was young. The ugliness had grown upon her year by year as she got older. It does to all of us, except for me. I get more handsome when I get older. Why would that happen? I'll tell you why. If a person has ugly thoughts it begins to show on the face. This is true. I totally agree. And when that person has ugly thoughts every day, every week, every year, the face gets uglier and uglier until it gets so ugly you can hardly bear to look at it. Hardly bear. Can't stand it. Oh, look at her. Not bad. Okay. Ah! A person who has good thoughts cannot even be ugly. You can have a wonky nose, like me, and a crooked mouth and a double chin, and stick your teeth, and stick out teeth, and stick out teeth. But if you have good thoughts, they will shine out of your face like sunbeams, and you will always look lovely. So this double chin is kind of when you're like fat. Oh, let's see. She has like a double chin, one chin, two chin, a wonky nose like me. Oh no, I just lost my pencil. And teeth that stick out. She has teeth that stick out. Her teeth are sticking out. Okay? But she has sunbeams because she's a good person. Next page. Nothing good shone out of Mrs. Twits' face. In her right hand, she carried a walking stick. She used to tell people that this was because she had warts growing on the sole of her left foot, and walking was painful. A wart. Do you know what a wart is? A wart's like a bump. On the sole of your foot is the bottom of your foot. Oh, that's gross. But the real reason is she carried a stick so that she could hit things with it. Things like dogs and cats and small children. Oh my gosh. What a crazy lady. So this is like your foot. Okay. Here is the sole of your foot, the back bottom. Okay. She had a wart. That's not true. She just like hitting things. Okay. And then there was the glass eye. Mrs. Twit had a glass eye that was always looking the other way. So here's her eye, and the other one looks this way and looks that way. Like if you got two eyes, and one looks like that, and one looks like that. Cuckoo, glass eye. All right, let's talk about this beautiful lady and her glass eye a little more. The glass eye. You can play a lot of tricks with a glass eye because you can take it out and pop it back in again anytime you'd like. So you take your eye out and put it in. Gross. Where did I go? You can bet your life Mrs. Twit knew all the tricks. One morning, she took out her glass eye and dropped it into Mr. Twit's mug of beer. So he's got a glass. A mug is kind of like a beer glass. It's like a mug of beer. This would be a mug, beer glass. Okay, so it's got the beer. She dropped her eye in it when he wasn't looking. Okay, let's see. Here he is. Oh, there's his mug. All right, there's Mr. Twit, right? Oh, man, he likes his beer. He's a big beer drinker. So look at, he's got the mug, and she put the eyeball in it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 beers. Holy cow. That's a lot of drinking, sir. He's a fun guy. I can only have a few. Mr. Twit sat there drinking the beer slowly. The froth made a white ring on the hairs around his mouth. So this is beer froth, like the foam. It made a white foam on his mouth. He wiped the white froth on his sleeve and wiped his sleeve on his trousers. These are pants. Do you understand what he's doing? He's wiping his mouth on his shirt and then on his pants. You're plotting something. You're plotting something, Mrs. Twit said, keeping her back turned so he wouldn't see what she had taken, that she had taken out her glass eye. Whenever you go all quiet like that, I know very well you're plotting something. Plotting is like planning something bad. All right. Mrs. Twit was right. Mr. Twit was plotting away like mad, like crazy. Plotting, planning. He was trying to think up a really nasty trick he could play on his wife that day. You'd better be careful, Mrs. Twit said, because when I see you starting to plot, I watch you like a wombat. A wombat is an animal. Oh, do shut up, you old hag, Mr. Twit said. He went on drinking his beer, and his evil mind kept working away on the latest horrid trick he was going to play on that old woman. Can you hear my daughter crying in the back? I can. Oh boy. Please stop crying. All right, that's going to give it away. Look at that picture. Suddenly, as Mr. Twit tipped the last drop of beer down his throat, he caught sight of Mrs. Twit's awful glass eye staring up at him from the bottom of the mug. It made him jump. Yeah, look at that. There's her eye looking at him. Yeah. And then here she is. I told you I was watching you, crackled Miss Twit. I've got eyes everywhere. Ha ha ha. So you'd better be more careful. Oh, she's a trickster. All right, chapter 6. The frog. Ooh, what joke are they going to play with the frog? Who's going to do it? The frog. To pay her back. This means to like get her back. To pay. I'm going to pay you back. I'm going to get you. For the glass eye in his beer, Mr. Twit decided he would put a frog in Mrs. Twit's bed. Oh boy. He caught a big one down by the pond and carried it back secretly in a box. That night, when Mrs. Twit was in the bathroom getting ready for bed, Mr. Twit slipped the frog between the sheets. So kind of between. In between. Then he got into his own bed and waited for the fun to begin. Oh, he's a tricky guy. Mr. Twit came back and climbed into, Mrs. Twit came back and climbed into her bed and put out the light. She lay there in the dark, scratching her tummy. Her tummy, bae. Her tummy was itchy, gross. Dirty old hags like her always have itchy tummies. Then all at once she felt something cold and slimy crawling over her feet. She screamed, "What's the matter with you?" Mr. Twit said, "Help!" Wait, yeah. "Help!" screamed Mrs. Twit. "Help!" screamed Mrs. Twit, bouncing about. "There's something in my bed." "I'll bet it's that giant silk wiggler I saw on the floor just now," Mr. Twit said. "What? That what?" screamed Mrs. Twit. "I tried to kill it, but it got away," Mr. Twit said. "It's got teeth like screwdrivers." "Help!" screamed Mrs. Twit. "Save me! It's all over my feet." "I'll bite off your toes," said Mr. Twit. Bite your toes off? So, hold on. You see that picture? They're in the bed. She's going crazy. He knows it's the frog. It's not the silk wiggler. All right. Then here's the frog jumping out. Mrs. Twit fainted. Fainted is like falling asleep fast. Like, oh. Mr. Twit got out of bed and fetched a jug of cold water. He poured the water over Mrs. Twit's head to revive her, wake her up. The frog crawled up from under the sheets to get near the water. It started jumping about on the pillow. Frogs love water. This one was having a good time. Look at it. So it's splashing in the water. Frog splash, splash. Oh my gosh, look at this. It's on her face. Oh, she's going to go crazy. Crazy lady. She can't handle that. When Mrs. Twit woke up, the frog had just jumped onto her face. This is not a nice thing to happen to anyone in bed at night. She screamed again. "By golly, it is a giant skilly wiggler," Mr. Twit said. "It'll bite." Oh yeah, he said it. "By golly, it is a giant skilly wigger," Mr. Twit said. "It'll bite off your nose." Mrs. Twit jumped out of bed and flew downstairs and spent the night on the sofa. The frog went to sleep on her pillow. These guys are playing some bad jokes. Alrighty. So let me see if I can turn this around. All right. Let's just end it here. Okay. Any questions, type below or ask me in class. This is the super duper book, Mr. Twit, the Twits. All right, guys, chapter 4, 5, and 6, over and out. Bye.